Uh, Good evening. My name is Eugene Peterson, and I'm chair of the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. And
Recording in progress.
we, again, good evening. My name is Eugene Peterson. I'm chair of the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. And the commission has a number of responsibilities. Um, Initially, we were given the prime and sole responsibility for um, addressing housing discrimination complaints. We have um, a web page on the county website that you can go to, and it has a language interpreter for those who speak Spanish and other languages. And it's there. You can, if you feel alleged discrimination, you can lodge a complaint. And then we will go through our process of looking at your complaint to take a look at its aspects and its validity. Um, Recently, the county council gave us some additional responsibilities through legislation that was passed at the county level. And we now have jurisdiction over complaints related to public accommodations, such as hotels, restaurants, bars, and other public spaces. And we also have additional responsibility for employment discrimination. So that's public sector discrimination against an individual and employment discrimination. There is a caveat to that employment discrimination that relates to private employment. County employees are still covered by county regulations, and any complaints by county employees will go to the county for their adjudication. We are in the county charter, so we are not a commission that is bound by appointment of any county executive. So we're in the county charter, and therefore recognized as an ongoing enterprise. At this point in time, I'd like to take a moment out to acknowledge that the director of equity and human rights, Director Asha Smith, had a loss August this October, I believe it's October 15th. She lost her mother. Mother had some medical challenges, and of course, I'm passing on, I know, all of the commission's best wishes for Asha in this day of sadness for her, this time of mourning, and wanted to convey what I know is a unanimous feeling that the commission would have in terms of her unfortunate loss at this time. We now have, I think we have, got to check. I think we have 4 commissioners on now, but I will check and see. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We have 5 commissioners. I believe we need one more to have a quorum. So while we're waiting for one more commissioner to join us, I'd like to welcome county council member and my county council member, Ms. Julie Hummer, who's here today and will be giving a presentation on the latest action of the county council to improve adequate access for housing in the county. So we're glad to have you with us, Councilwoman Hummer. And
thank you for having me.
you bet. And as I said, we will get going shortly. Commissioner Michaels.
Good evening, Chairman Peterson. While we're waiting for maybe one more commissioner to join, I sent out a email. I don't know if you received it, and I'm, again, not sure if it's allowed to be discussed at the commission meeting, but we are having a affordable housing symposium this the 29th of October. It's the Tuesday before Election Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at the email that I sent.
I did.
But while we are waiting for the council member to speak and share with us, and she's going to be talking about some housing issues, I just want to put it out there that if anybody wishes to attend or is inclined to attend, there is a registration fee. It's not very much, but also anybody that has lived experience with struggling with affordable housing. We have some comp tickets available that we're able to help people to attend, and it's going to be it starts from 8 to 9 for the networking, and then at 9 the program begins.
I think Chanel, you put something in the chat about that.
Yes, Commissioner Peterson, Chairman Peterson.
Thank you. So
You're
there's
welcome.
something in the chat about the conference that you all can
Thank you.
access.
I appreciate that.
I'm hoping that Commissioner Ferris will show up because he is our secretary. And that's pretty critical in terms of the notes we'll take for the meeting. But Okay, Commissioner Ferris is unable to attend. So at this point in time, I think we'll go ahead and we won't be able to adopt the minutes at this meeting, but we'll take them up again at our November meeting. So at this point in time, I'll have a roll call and Commissioner Michaels, you can say present. We have Commissioner Michaels as present. Commissioner Newman.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Gaskin.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hatcher.
Present.
I think and I'm here, so I will be I'm the fifth person. Okay. So we've had the roll call. Thank everybody who's here. First agenda item is the review and approval of the minutes. Did everybody get the minutes?
Yes.
They were sent out late. I sent them out, I think, today. If you have not had a chance to review them, that's fine. We'll take them up at our next meeting because we don't have a quorum. Okay, so why don't we move ahead to what I'm excited about, which is County Council woman Hummer, my county council person, who will talk to us about the affordable housing legislation that the council addressed and passed, what it means for the county, what it means for affordable housing, and where do we go from here? Is this the last effort, or will there be more efforts in this of this kind? So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Hummer.
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you all for having me. I will jump right into it. Last Monday, the council passed the Housing Attainability Act, Bill 7224. This is a bill, so last fall, the administration had put forth a bill called the Essential Workers Act that was to increase, to create a moderately priced dwelling unit program in the county, MPDU. That bill did not pass. There were concerns that while creating a moderately priced dwelling unit, that there weren't other things that would actually make it be successful, that it would be, we would have the plan and paper, but there weren't the incentives and the changes needed to make it actually work. So three of the council members, myself, Councilwoman Pickard, and Councilwoman Rodvian, along with some other stakeholders from the community and the administration, for the past 9 months have been working on building on that bill and improving on it. And so we're very excited that it passed. So the main features of this, it's called the Housing Attainability Act because it is meant to make housing more attainable throughout the county at all price points and at all income levels. As we know, we have a crucial housing shortage across the nation, and that includes in our county, and it affects everybody at every level. And a main reason for this is because we don't have enough housing. So the pressure points are there that the pricing for rental and home ownership has just risen for everyone because there's competition for what's out there. So the Housing Attainability Act is going to require more moderately priced units be built, but it's also providing some other levers that we hope will increase the building of housing and increase our inventory, which will help stabilize and perhaps bring down the cost of housing overall. So the main feature of the bill is that we have created the moderately priced dwelling unit. It is now required for all new developments over 20 units that they set aside a certain number of those units to be priced, moderately priced. So these would be for families or individuals up to 100% of the average median income for the area. So this isn't going to necessarily be your lowest income residents. This is more of your middle income families. These are the people, these are your school teachers, your firefighters who are having a hard time finding things affordable. So moving forward, all new developments, 20 or more, that will be single family homes, it will require that 10% of the units be set aside as an MPDU, and in rental multifamily apartments, it will be 15%. So, but to make this feasible, because it is expensive to build any house, and it's still going to cost a lot if it's moderately priced or if it's market priced. And so for the developers, we worked with them about what are some of the barriers to them maximizing how many units they can build. So we've also made to help them to increase the numbers that they build for these MPDUs. We also made changes and tweaks to our regulations and our bulk regulations, all the things that go into building that will hopefully allow them to build more units on a given space. Right now, for the allowable density on a project, builders are able to hit about 75% of the allowable density. So that means if they can build 10 units on an acre, they're getting closer to about 7.5 because of different restrictions we have. So we made some changes that will hopefully allow them to build more. For instance, we shrunk for multifamily things. We lessened some of the parking requirements. We decreased the amount of some of the open space that would be there. We combined some of those definitions to make that a little narrower. We increased the amount of coverage you could have on a unit. These were all in aggregate, they're small things, but they could make it to build more. So now if a developer is able to get closer to 100% density with MPDUs, with these additional ones, they can get a bonus density. They can build more units, and those units would be required to be moderately priced dwelling units. So it's an incentive for them to maximize, and it gives us more moderately priced dwelling units as well. I know that's all, it gets a little wonky and a little complicated, but the whole goal of this is to increase inventory and increase the number of MPDUs. For developments that are 10 to 19, they are also required to set aside some as MPDUs, but if they can't, or if it's more challenging because it's a smaller area space, they can pay a fee in lieu. If you're just building 0 to 9 units, they're exempted from building the moderately priced dwelling units. But these changes to the codes and things and all of those things to increase density apply across the board. Now, for saying this, there was some concerns. We have not lessened any environmental regulations. There's no changes in that. Every project still has to meet all of the stormwater mitigation, all of the forest conservation, all of those things. If they can't meet it, they're not going to be allowed to build extra units. on that property to have it. So we feel that we've struck a good balance between maximizing the allowable building on a property while still protecting the environment as well. So it's an exciting bill. This is we're a little behind from other counties that have had MPDU programs for a long time. Montgomery County's had it for about 50 years. And so we're finally getting one. So this is exciting. This is not going to solve the housing crisis. It is another tool in our toolbox. We think it's an important one that we'll build on there, but it's just an additional thing. And again, this is more focused, the MPDUs are more focused to our more middle income residents, as opposed to our lowest income residents. So, but this will have impacts overall. Eugene had mentioned what's coming next. We do have some things coming next. We've made a couple of tweaks to our workforce housing, which it does tend to be aimed toward lower income than the 100% AMI, to increase some of those. We have a redevelopment bill that's coming up that will allow for more building within some of our commercial zones and some of those areas that people would like to see become something more productive, boarded up areas, underused commercial space. That will be coming up shortly in the next couple of months. We are working toward longer term, probably into next year, a bill on missing middle housing, different types of housing types. Oh, that's something I forgot about this bill that's really important. One thing we added with the housing attainability bill is that we added new definitions of different housing types. So right now our code basically has apartments, townhouses, single family. And as we see, as people that are aging and ready to downsize, or young people coming in, they want different options. So we have added definitions now that can be built by developers for duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, 2/2s, what's sometimes called stacked townhouses. These are different sizes that gives more flexibility because people at different stages of life are looking for different things. And so we hear often from people who are reaching retirement and they're their big single family home and they'd like to stay in the area, but they'd like to downsize to something else. And there's not really the options that are attractive to them. If you're looking to downsize because you're older, you may not want a townhouse that has multiple levels of stairs, but a duplex or a triplex could be a perfect, alternative. So that's another great thing here. It would also allow more variety, but also you could fit in a space that you might normally just put one single family home. Now you might be able to put a duplex or a triplex that would be more affordable. You're offering more housing options and more affordable ones in the same space. So, but there's a lot coming up. We're chipping away at this. As I said, the housing crisis is no one thing is going to fix it, but we keep working on small things that we think will be incentives to help increase the affordability and the inventory problems that we have. So that's kind of the big overview, and I'm happy to take questions.
Any commissioners with questions at this point in time?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, I figured you would, Commissioner Michaels. Go ahead.
Hi, Councilmember Julie. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you for all the hard work that you and Councilmember Allison Pickard and Lisa Rodbean and I know even other Pete all
Pete.
been working hard. Couple questions. The first is, do you all track currently where housing currently is in the queue? How much are we currently building? I know that we were really behind, and do you know where we stand sort of right now to catch up? I think were we 20,000 properties behind?
Yes, it's significant. We do track, things are picking up a little bit. We've had a recent, the interest rates have dropped a little bit. That is helping some of the projects. Some of the other delays that were coming were supply chain issues. Some of those things are improving, but yes, we are at historic lows. We had fewer new permits last year than we've had since before the recession.
Sure.
So it's significant. We're trying to break through with that.
Right.
So, but I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can get that and send you
Yeah.
all, because we do have tracking. We know where everybody is in the queue for when it comes to permits and where they are along on the plan, on the planning stages.
Some of these questions actually are just because my personal experience interacting with the community, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but in my time job, we help women and children to keep from being evicted.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now into the 200 range of trying to keep women and children from being evicted. And that's what we've sort of focused on right now. But in that conversation, my own personal experience has been, last week I attended the caucus of African American leaders, and I learned something that just hadn't hit me, and that is that we had an LGBTQ panel speaking, and they talked about how we have more people moving to Maryland from states that are no longer safe to live. And so our population is growing, and that Anne Arundel County is considered one of the more safer, not the safest, but safer counties. So I heard a figure which I would love to give to you for you to just add to your investigation and research. Although they're not here yet, they are looking here. It's to the tune of about 30,000 people looking in Anne Arundel County for housing, especially in that middle range, right? Because we're safer, not the safest. The other thing that I heard about from an Amsterdam conference that they just had about 3 weeks ago is to sort of approach from another creative angle, which you guys have already been working on creativity, but is to go back to sort of a co-living. Seniors can maybe break some of those walls down where they're a little bit nervous to move in with a roommate, but co-living is a concept that they're using in Europe, and just bringing that to your attention, and to investigate more. The other question is Anne Arundel County, does it have things going on that we're not aware of? Because we are a big defense county. We have Fort Meade, I believe, the largest fort in the country is here. We have the Naval Academy. We have these other. So they're big landowners. So therefore, they're reducing the amount of land we have. And then I heard that we have a data farm coming up. I don't think it's in our county, but I think they're building. So, all those new luxury apartments that went up on Riva Road, is there something we're unaware of that's in the queue for not moderately priced, but high priced, because there's going to be all these jobs that are going to be coming to the region, and the people that are middle income and below are not going to be participating. So therefore, they're building for other people's future, but not our future. Does that
Right.
that's something that you're aware of that I'm not aware of, but I'm asking?
I can't speak specifically to any type of like high-end development that's coming. I will say that what we've seen, the housing crunch at every price level. So any building, I of course want more that's concentrated toward the lower end or middle income, but any building helps,
Right?
because if you build the more expensive house, then those people are going to move out of their one, and that's going to open that up for the next family. It kind of has the studies have shown it has a domino effect, that any housing that's built trickles down and helps everyone along the way and opens up things. Because we're seeing right now, for instance, young families who are in a townhouse who'd really love to move to a single family home. they can't find one that's affordable for them. But perhaps as those single family people move on to something more, or they downsize themselves, those things open up. So those are things we want to watch to have come through. From what you said about the LGBTQ community and some of that, I hadn't heard that, but it doesn't surprise me a bit. Several years ago, back when I was on the school board, we had the first transgender guidelines in the state. But then shortly after we developed those guidelines, Frederick County passed the first law, the first real policy enacting it. So they went a step further than what we had done at that time. And I remember talking to some of my counterparts in Frederick County who told me that they saw an increase of families moving there who felt safer for their children for coming through, so that it had really opened up a new community. So it doesn't surprise me to hear that. And we get that all the time. Anne Arundel is a very attractive place. We have Fort Meade, the biggest base around here. People want to live close to where they work. So to have all that, they want to come in here. So the more housing we can do, the fort, they have their own housing on base and some right off base.
Right.
We do have we have several projects going in, big townhome or multifamily condos type things going in around the Odenton Town Center, which is very close to Fort Meade. So we're really trying to attract that. And a lot of those will be for young professionals, and have that. Off the top of my head, I can think of 4 or 5 just off the top of my head that are either under construction or in process right around there. So really trying to meet those workers where they are.
Sure.
Close by.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for asking all these questions, but these are all things that are pending in my brain, and that I'm trying to also get all of our panelists in this symposium to sort of really dig deep into, coming up with some steps toward solutions, and instead of just always talking about it.
Right. So so last week at the same meeting where we passed this bill, we also had 2 bills moving forward for pilot programs. And pilots are, you know what a pilot is, payment in lieu of taxes. And it was for 2 affordable housing projects, affordable housing developments or buildings. And it was to help them get their financing moving forward. I will say it was disappointing to me that 3 of my colleagues did not vote for those pilots for these projects. One of them is for an existing affordable housing complex in Glen Burnie that's almost 800 units. It's been there a very long time. A company's coming in that's going to renovate it and keep it as affordable housing. But if they don't get their financing, it will revert to market rate. And this is a complex that serves some of our lowest income people down to 30% of AMI. And 3 of my colleagues voted against us providing that financing to help them keep this affordable housing. If we had not done that, if there's 800 units in that thing, we're talking thousands of people that could have been displaced and left homeless. And so we have to support what we have. And so thankfully, my 4 of us did support to bring that in. But those are important things too that we do to make sure that we're keeping our existing inventory of affordable housing, but also trying to improve them. I have another, we're talking about projects coming in. I was on the phone today about a great project that's coming in near Waugh Chapel that is going to be a multifamily affordable multifamily unit that's coming in there right next door to a 78 unit one for the elderly of moderate means. So those are some great projects that are coming in that we need to have. And they were able to build those because of some changes that the council made to some of our codes last year that opened it up more to bring those in. So we're trying to hit at every price point, right?
There was also some creative work done in Cleveland, Ohio, outside. I always like to look outside just our county and see what they're doing in other states and other areas. And it's interesting too, using creative architecture to take a parking lot and actually creating livable space within small areas. And I
Mhm.
just think about a lot of times out in, and I'm assuming this is, I don't know if it's a township or the county, by the mall, Westfield Mall, where, yes, I know pickleball is very important to everybody, but I just think that there's ways to take parking lots and incorporate. It doesn't have to be 800 units. It could be 20, it could
Mhm.
be 40, and that you build them so that you incorporate. And to be honest with you, you could build maybe some senior housing there, which is 2 stories, very easy. And then they have all the support services, because we do know that when they're building, they sometimes forget about the other structures like grocery stores and everything else to be put in the area. So then you're still traveling far away. So the final question though I have too is, um, about the area of in these major investors like BlackRock. To be honest with you, I thought we were too expensive for investment firms like that to come in and purchase and buy up places. Has the county been approached, or do you know of these large investment firms like a BlackRock that are buying up our apartment complexes and our houses and stuff, and then trying to, raising the price and then reselling out to the community again? Have we been affected by that?
I am not aware of that happening. If I have not heard anything about that. So I
Okay.
hope that is not the case, because we don't want investors to come in and raise our prices. We want them to stay affordable. I
Right.
do want to bring up one thing that is a concern. We're doing some really good work here. There's been great legislation in the past couple of years about workforce housing. This redevelopment bill we're trying to come in that is allowing us to build in formerly commercial areas that are zoned commercial,
Right.
to have in there. But a concern that
Right.
we need to be aware of, and that you as the Human Rights Commission need to be aware of, is because of restrictions in our code and things like this, a lot of this redevelopment space or commercial space is concentrated in only one portion of the county. A large portion of the county is not opened up to other things. And so it's primarily in our northern and western area. So my district, Ms. Pickard's district, Mr. Smith's district, that is where Ms. Pickard's district has the highest percentage of apartments of anywhere in the county.
Right.
But my district is very close behind. Nothing against apartments, but we're tending to it's but kind of historically been the case in our county that we have clustered some of our lower income housing into one section.
Yeah.
And while we're making great strides
right.
for this and we want to do it, we want to make sure that we are not inadvertently creating our own segregation here by putting all these in one space. And how can we
Correct.
open up other parts of the county to do this? The housing attainability, a portion of that we have on there is that it's the moderately priced dwelling unit program is an inclusionary housing practice. It is to try to mix different incomes in different areas and allow more of that in our Severna Park, Broadneck type areas. And we need to keep pushing for that inclusionary housing and not be concentrating all workforce housing, all redevelopment into one section of the county that's already there. I love all my residents. I'm not saying I don't want people to move to mine, but I think people should have the opportunities to live anywhere in this county and access any of our schools and resources wherever they are, and not be segregated off into one portion of the county.
And my understanding is those countries and those states and those counties that have that inclusionary living and building multifamily or MPDUs actually are very successful and create a much more cultural, safe space, because everybody's looking after each other and everybody's learning about each other, and And so the divisions that we're experiencing a little bit now, those walls come down, and maybe we can have more, to me, we would have more successful regions.
I agree with you. I think our lives are much more interesting and rich when we live with all different kinds of people and experience all different kinds of things. So,
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
thank you for answering my questions, and I apologize to the whole group that I asked so many.
It's okay, Commissioner Michaels. And any other commissioners have questions, comments, observations? Okay.
Hi, Commissioners. Hi, can you hear me?
Is this Commissioner Hatcher?
it's kind of echoey.
Commissioner Hatcher?
So if you come across well, I'll hold my question.
No,
right,
that's better. That's better.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. So 2 questions. The first one, because when we first started talking about the, developing of homes and things of that nature, some months back, I know that there was a question about coding and permits, and that certain areas didn't allow duplexes and triplexes
That's
and things of that nature. How do we know? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, well, you're exactly right. Until this bill, our code did not allow for duplexes or triplexes anywhere in the county.
Oh, okay.
It was not in the code. Developers nationwide are seeing how, they know the trends. They know that young professionals want something smaller to start out with, or that older residents are wanting to downsize. And so they've created different products, to be more flexible in that, but our code did not allow any of those things. So this bill now allows those, and they'll be allowed anywhere in the county.
Okay.
They're allowed, they would be allowed anywhere. However, I do want to add on there, the MPDU program, when we talk about these developments for the MPDU requirements, those are only required in areas that are on public water and sewer. If there is private, if it's septic and well water, there's different land restrictions. And so that doesn't include, there's some risk that there's just some different land uses, restrictions on the size of a property and things to have a septic field. But if they can fit it and they can meet the requirements, duplexes and triplexes can now be built anywhere in the county.
Okay, so that's good to know. Because there may still be some issues about, kind of broadening availability for people. But here's my other question, because I know what stood out was that it seems like the building is going to be in lots, like it's going to be less space, right? What are we doing about potential overcrowding when populations grow too much? And because our roads still are, our infrastructure is still, we have a lot of roads that are 2 lanes and things of that nature. Has all of that, is all of that a part of a plan as well? As the more the population grows, more infrastructure and things of that nature, maybe schools and things of that nature may also be developing.
Yes. So every new development, every building that's done, one of the requirements they have to meet, along with all the environmental things like stormwater mitigation and forest conservation, they have to meet an adequate public facilities criteria. That means that they have to do traffic studies to make sure that the roads can handle the traffic for the new housing that's being built, that the schools have enough room for how many children are projected to be in there. So all those things still have to be met. So this bill does not change any of that. They would still be there. Now, an argument can be made, and I think there's merit to it, that even though we require that changes be made, so if you're building it, you're going to have to do road improvements or things like that, that our roads and our schools still get overburdened, even though we make those requirements. And that's something we have to work on all together, extensively. Coming up, we actually have a new, a traffic adequate public facilities bill will be coming up, and we'll be looking at that and looking at the requirements changing and updating the requirements for what improvements need to be made to roads and traffic patterns around new developments to make sure that they are truly meeting the new burdens placed on infrastructure. But you're right, we want growth, but we don't want it to be at a way that makes it unpleasant to live there because you have gridlock or your schools are overcrowded. But all those criteria will still have to be met, and we need to continue looking to make sure that we're doing enough to improve the roadways. Part of my district is Route 3 along Waugh Chapel. I hear constantly from everyone about the traffic on Route 3 because back over many decades, there wasn't appropriate planning and impacts done for the growth along that stretch. And now it's very hard to fix it after the fact. And it's also a state road, so the county has limited input on it. But that's why it's so important that we look at things up front and make the plans and build for the growth that we're having before we bring it in rather than afterwards. Much easier to fix things from the beginning than to fix it afterwards.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you very much. That was it for me.
Okay, Councilwoman Hummer, could you comment on, this is a momentous change that's coming upon the county. How are we going to engage the citizens so that they understand what's coming? Because my fear is legislation can be passed, but unless each council person commits to having meetings, forums, which we would be happy to participate in, I don't see this having a good conclusion. I mean, we're still going to have the NIMBY people and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So how do we work on that? Is the council planning a public relations push, so to speak, I'll put that in quotes, to get the public more aware? I mean, you gave us a lot of good information, but this is a video, it'll go on YouTube, it's our meeting, and some people will see it, some people won't. So what is a plan? Have you guys thought of a plan?
Well, we did. So ACT, the ACT group has been very helpful with this. We met with them extensively about the bill, and they came out in force at our meeting last week in support of the bill. And they have really been putting out the word to educate all of their members. If you're not familiar with ACT, ACT is a broad coalition of dozens of churches, of houses of worship throughout the county that come together on different issues. And they do have a housing portion, and they were very involved in this. We've met with other groups. I know Ms. Pickard did a presentation with the NAACP, and we've had some others. We have had some pushback on it. Some of the environmental community came back hard on it. They're concerned that it's going to increase impervious surface and runoff into the areas. We have assured them, and the county staff, that the environmental staff has assured that they don't have those concerns for this bill, because we do not weaken our environmental regulations at all. All of those will still be in place. But we need to continue to educate people for that. Unfortunately, the council, a lot of people don't know this, our council is a very lean machine. We do not have extensive staff, and we are all part-time council members. So we do not have the apparatus to do a big communication splits. We would hope that the county executive would do that to really promote this, as his team was very involved in the work group and to create this thing, and we hope that he will use his platform to put out there. But we are currently individually, council members are meeting with, like I am tonight, any group that's interested. We're happy to come out and talk to you at any time and keep posted. We're trying to share it through our things. unfortunately, as you said, Eugene, a lot of this is on individual council members, and we do have 3 council members who did not vote for this bill and may not be the biggest proponents of it.
Well,
So the
we'd
other
be
4
happy
of us,
to, we'd be
Yeah.
happy to sponsor any forums in those particular councilmanic areas that would help spread the information. We would, of course, invite the council members to come, but we've done forums like that before, and would be happy to do something like that. So that's one way I could see where we could help. So I would respectfully ask that we, and I think I know who they might be, but get the councilmanic districts that where this is, and then we would discuss as a commission how we'd like to help. And the other area I think where we might be able to help is through talking with the county executive, and we'd be happy to encourage the county executive to take a proactive approach. And this is a cornerstone of his tenure as county executive. So one would think that this would be something that county executive would be very interested in promoting. So we'd be happy to lend our voice to that. And I will personally, with the council's commission's permission, and I'll send out an email to that, send an email to the county executive saying that this is great legislation, we support it, and we encourage him to do what he does very well, which is communicate. He does that weekly memo, and he could do other things. So we'll be happy to do that.
Well, we'd appreciate that. This is a big bill. This is something that the county executive and the county council have been talking about for years, of tackling the housing crisis. And in particular, the county executive has really pushed for us to have an MPDU program. So this is big deal, and we want to have that. He did sign the bill yesterday, so it is in effect. This bill is a little different. Most of our bills go into effect 45 days after they're signed. This one is not going into effect until July because of the MPDU program, and that there needs to be a system set up to qualify people for it. ACDS is going to be in charge of that program, and they have asked for some time to develop their regulations and guidelines for how people apply and get the staffing for that. So this will actually go into effect July 1.
Okay, and I'm going to go to
if I can just
Commissioner
add to that,
Michaels, and then I'll come back with another question that I have.
Yeah,
Commissioner Michaels.
I just want to reinforce all of that because, as the council member mentioned, they don't have this large apparatus. And so our goal was to try and bring everybody to the table who have been working in all these pockets to the symposium. So there are, if you get a chance, I would really suggest that you look at who is going to be in attendance at the symposium. Everybody from Jake Day, the Secretary of Housing and Community Development, Allison Pickard, Lisa Rodvine, Stuart Pittman, Dr. Bonner is going to be there. You'll be there.
I'll be there.
Lisa Sorrow, Aaron Karpowitz, ACDS is doing an entire afternoon listening session. So this is an opportunity for everybody to network. And just one other little housekeeping thing. I've been to a lot of conferences in my life, and when they do breakout rooms and here lunch in another room, you lose everybody. So we're keeping everybody into one room. I might lock the door and then run away until we solve the problem. But no, we have everybody in the room for lunch, coffee, and the idea here is getting everybody, and we're going to be at round tables, getting everybody interacting, talking, and joining forces and supporting council members doing the good work. so that we can keep moving forward. Thank you.
And
I'm
it's
sorry, that was a
no,
pitch.
no, I'm really looking forward to the symposium. I want to add that we did get a letter of support for the housing attainability bill from Secretary Day and on behalf of the governor, applauding this bill as a creative way that we were able, we're increasing affordable housing as well as increasing
Right.
the inventory without weakening any environmental regulations. So that was really exciting. I attended another housing event last.
Council.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was
No.
just going to say that, and also we did prep meetings with all the panels that are going to be at this. And the one thing that came through from a lot of the various panel members was that we hope that everyone tries and stays for the whole day so that politicians, legislators, developers, advocates can hear everybody's opinion and not just like, oh, I gave my speech or I gave my participation, bye, I'm leaving, so that everybody stays in the room. And so we're really hoping for that. And if council member, if you could just pass that on to your colleagues, please stick around so that everybody gets to network and talk. And, I just think it makes for an opportunity that I don't think we really have a chance to have that many people in one room for one day. So
I agree.
and I appreciate you coming and attending.
So I attended
Yes,
another
sorry, I
housing
didn't mean to
event.
interrupt.
No problem. I attended another housing event last week, and they had a speaker who's a
Mhm.
nationally known speaker on housing, Jerusalem Deadness. She's wonderful, but she was talking about the barriers we get to,
Wonderful.
yes, when we try to make changes to the housing and the voices that come out in the room. Often, as we know, the voices that come out in the room are not the ones who are most directly going to benefit from our legislation. It's not, we're not hearing from the working mothers because they're not going to, can't come out on a Monday night to speak at a council member, at a council meeting. We're not hearing from our lowest income people who are probably working nights or things like that. Instead, like for this bill, we got an outpouring from a lot of the environmentalists who were coming out, who many of whom housing is not an issue for them. It's kind of, and so we have to, and my response to all of them was, the environment is important to me too, but we have an obligation to balance. As we say in our plan 2040, we have all different priorities that we have to balance together. So we have to balance our environmental stewardship along with the housing and economic needs of our citizens. And often the people that come out to speak are not representative of the overall people that we serve. And we have to remember that just because it's loud doesn't mean that it's speaking for the needs of our community. That's why we were very grateful to ACT for packing that room. And this is funny. This was Bill 7224. They didn't plan this, but ACT had 72 members in the audience that night. So they had 72 people for Bill 72, which was great, but they were able to be a voice for the people who really will be impacted by this bill, rather than, a loud few that it really are not representative of these communities in need.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, one last question that I have, and then I'll again open it up for any other commissioners. And if we have none, we'll move on to our next agenda item. It seems to me that this would be great, as you have said, Councilwoman, for firefighters, teachers, and police officers, especially police officers, because every jurisdiction is Baltimore. I can think of Baltimore City. I can think of Anne Arundel County, in particular, have police officers who protect and serve, but don't live in the communities that they protect and serve. That's a big issue. And so I'm wondering what kind of outreach was done with the unions that represent the police officers, firefighters, teachers, and are they very supportive of this kind of approach?
We didn't, I don't know about police and firefighters, but the teachers, TAC, the teachers collective bargaining unit, they came out fully in support of this bill. And they did come and speak for the bill because they realize it. When I say the moderately priced dwelling units in this bill, or for people can qualify for those up to 100% of the county AMI. So I don't have the chart exactly in front of me, so I don't have the exact numbers, but for a single individual, that can be up to $85,000 a year. Starting salary for our teachers is right around getting close to 60,000 a year. So it's perfect. It's perfect for teachers coming in that they would qualify for that. Same for our police and firefighters. So this is, the previous bill had been called the Essential Workers Act, which wasn't my favorite name for it because I tend to think that everybody that's working and contributing in society is an essential worker, but it is focused but the sentiment behind is the same. It's these people that are the people that serve, and our county employees, our school employees, our custodians, our school nurses, the barista at the Starbucks. All of those people should be able to afford to live and work. And so this is who this is really done. But I will say that TAC, the teachers union, was great with this. And they really put out the word to their members, and they came out and spoke and really helped with this bill.
Thank you.
I'm just going to tell you right now, I just got the notice my computer's about to die. So if I disappear, that's why.
Not a problem. Any other commissioners with any comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, then we'll let you go before your computer dies.
Thank you. And thank you all for having me. Please reach out if you have any more questions.
We certainly will.
I'll see you at this symposium.
All right. Thank you.
Good night,
Councilwoman. Okay, very good and informative presentation. A lot of good information. Next item is we had the DOJ form, and I put this on the agenda because unfortunately I wasn't able to attend. I had car problems. And so I wanted to make sure that for the commissioners that attended, that we got a description for those of us that weren't in attendance of the I skipped an item on the agenda, so I have to go back. I wanted to bring up an item, and I know Dr. Smith-Key is with us, and one of the things that I wanted to, and she can add anything to this. She's gonna give an involved presentation next month on what her plans are to implement the grant that we have. But she thought that it would be useful because she's had conversations with the Annapolis Human Resource Commission, and she's talked with us. She thought that a meeting between the two of us could generate some needed and useful discussion that would lead to what role both commissions would play in the implementation of the grant. So having said that, I turn it over to Dr. Nicole Smith-Key to go ahead and say a few more things than I've said.
Thank you, Commissioner. And you've really covered it. So just a little more detail. Last week, I met with Annapolis HRC, and what was very evident to me, they've been doing the work as it relates to hate crime and hate bias incidents for quite some time. And so they shared some really good examples of current situations that they've dealt with and past situations that they've dealt with. As we are getting ready to launch, for want of a better word, this hate bias strategy in the county. And this HRC having more responsibility in that space, I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a lunch and learn between the two HRCs so that we all can learn from what Annapolis HRC is doing. I brought this to Commissioner Eugene's attention and thought it would be a good opportunity. And I also mentioned it to Asha, and she's on board with that. So this is something for you all to consider and see whether or not you're in favor of that. Similar to what I said to you all when I met first and presented very briefly on the grant, I did the same with Annapolis HRC, and they are now brainstorming about how they can serve on the grant, how they can partner with us on the grant. Similarly, that's what I'm hoping that you will all do as well. And again, no need to reinvent the wheel. They've been doing the work. How can we learn from them?
Okay. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have such a, you call it a lunch and learn, or when would the meeting?
Whatever we decide to call it, we're getting together, and food
Okay,
is always a
that's
good
fine.
thing.
Whenever we could do that. I'll and I won't ask for a vote on this, but I'll talk with Mike. Gosh, I'm blanking on his last name. I'll talk with the chairman of the Annapolis HRC and see when it would make sense for the two of us to get together along with Dr. Nicole and talk about ways that we could support the grant and get some feedback from Annapolis on the kinds of things that they are doing, and take it from there.
Yes,
So that,
Michael Keller is his name.
pardon, yeah, Michael Keller. Thank you. Yeah, Michael Keller. I know him well, but so I will get in touch with Chairman Keller, and then we'll get out to the commissioners dates, location, and time for this joint session. So I'm going to commit to that tonight, and I just wanted to bring it to the attention of commissioners so that you would know that we were going to reach out in this manner. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay.
Commissioner,
Oh,
Chairman Peterson,
yes.
I just wanted to also mention that I was lucky enough to attend the Department of Justice training. And I'm already, and Dr. Smith Key was there. Actually, she sat next to me. And we had a great conversation, but I learned a little bit, meaning I've learned, 101. And I'm ready for our commission to support the next series of trainings, because I found it so valuable and interesting. And we did some play acting on different cases, and so on and so forth. And so I'm just going to put it out there on the record that we need to continue doing that. And the Department of Justice officers that came in from all parts, from New York and Philadelphia, just really wonderful. It was excellent, I thought.
Okay. Other commissioners with observations who attended?
Hi, I agree with David. I think that unfortunately I had to leave halfway through the second day, so I was able to participate in the role playing. But up to that point, I thought it was some valuable information that was provided. And I also think that we need to have additional training sessions, and hopefully all commissioners will be able to attend, because I think it's valuable for everyone to attend. One good thing that I thought came out of it is that we see each other on Zoom, but we hadn't necessarily met in person. So it was also a good opportunity for us to get together in person and to get to know each other a little better, to try to work towards building a really cohesive team. I think that face-to-face makes a difference at times. But I think that additional training would be very beneficial with all commissioners, if possible, in attendance.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, I agree with both accounts. It was really good, again, to see everyone face to face and interact. And just the training was excellent, and learning from each other's perspectives, and the role play was very informative and helpful. I think all over it was a great opportunity and a great training.
Okay, and anyone else? Want to thank you for that feedback and information. I'm wondering if, for those that didn't attend, would it be helpful to get any of the printed materials that people could go through?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Because I wanted to attend, but I had a conflict. But in willing to attend if they do apply the training again.
Okay. Chanel, do we have that kind of material we can get out to folks that didn't attend?
I'm not sure about that. Are you referring to a electronic version or a hard copy?
Well, if you have hard copies, they could be mailed out.
Yeah, I don't know if they only sent a certain number ahead of the training, so if there were any left over, I believe they took it with them. But I
Oh,
can see
okay.
if they have an electronic copy, perhaps.
Pardon?
I can check with them to see if they have an electronic copy.
Okay, why don't you do that?
I will.
Okay, great. Is there anything going to our next item, which would have been the director's report? Is there anything, Chanel, that you have that we need to know about from the department's perspective?
Not at this time, Eugene. Thanks for asking.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move to the next item, which is Commissioner Hatcher. Is there anything to report from your liaison activities with?
Yes, there is. So I had the privilege of hearing Dr. Nikki. I think some refer to her as Dr. Nikki, have a informal presentation to the Annapolis Human Commissions, and I wrote down notes. So I want to share with you all some of the notes because I was excited by just the idea that I believe Dr. Nikki and her team is going to bring forth to help counter hate bias incidents and accidents in our communities. Engagement, education, empowering. So one of the things, and Dr. Nikki, excuse me if you already mentioned this, I had to go on another call and come back, so I might be repeating you, but one of the goals is to create a multidisciplinary team that so that we can have comprehensive conversations, cohesive communication, and then kind of push. I think this is going to be part of the discussion that we have with Chairman Keller about having a communication campaign. How do we get information out there to as to how we counter hate bias and educate as well, and as well as come together to build out a strategy so that all could be represented. So and that was one of the things, she wants everyone to be represented in this strategy. So wants to reach out to the different districts, to the different commissioners, so that we can all be engaged. But engagement, education, and empowering, those were the main goals that we're going to be trying to achieve with this grant, which is a 4-year grant, and pushing out hate bias prevention. There was also an incident, Dr. Nikki, hopefully I did you justice with some of the information.
You did great, and the commission will get an update in the next meeting as well. So they'll see some of what you just said. Thank you.
Perfect. There was an incident that occurred. I believe it would be considered a hate bias accident. It's either an incident or accident. I think it's an accident.
Incident.
Incident.
That occurred June 28th that involved, I believe it was Mr. Rick Hudsall, and and I don't know if you all spoke about this already, but they were bicycling. They was doing some cycling in the area, in the Annapolis area, I think, and they were at the city dock, and they had a gentleman that came and was throwing rocks, and when someone approached him, he took out a can of bear spray and sprayed. So that's how it became now an offense, right? And from that discussion, the Annapolis Council wanted to understand, or Commission, sorry, wanted to understand how, one, can they receive the reports? And then two, how can they be involved? How can they engage maybe the victim and be a support service in that, in some form? And so that was something I wanted to bring back to you all, as well as to, I know we get our hate bias accidents and incidents report, but I'm not really sure how often, because I know there's been a change of hands, and maybe the dashboard that used to be kept up might not be as active, but wanted to be able to go back with them as to how can they get reports, and is there some way, somehow, where they can get involved and reach out to the victims and be supportive in that arena. Because one of the things that they want to do is like not have these things happen and then there's no follow-up, there's no support. So that was pretty much the main objective that was spoken at the commission's meeting. So that's my report for everyone, and waiting for feedback.
All right. Thank you so much. This, I think, underscores why it would be useful for our commission and the Annapolis Human Relations Commission to get together. So I will get in touch with Chairman Keller, and we will make it happen. And I agree with Commissioner Gaskin that Zoom is not the only way we should meet, and we will schedule perhaps a November meeting to be in person, and we'll have that at the facility in Annapolis, the Heritage Center, where we've met before. So I'll work with Chanel to make that happen.
And of course, I'll be in Los Angeles on that.
Pardon? You'll be in Los Angeles in November? Okay, since you brought it up, how about January? Will you be here in January? Okay, we'll set it for January. Is everybody good with that? It will be January, so that Commissioner Gaskin, my good friend, can attend. Okay, fantastic. At this point in time, we have no further business. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, and that was
Seconded.
okay. That was Commissioner Gaskin move.
Correct.
Okay, got it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? None opposed. It's a non-debatable motion. I should have said that earlier. So with this, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight, and we will get ready for a great presentation from Dr. Nikki in November. And I hopefully will have something to report to all of you on the progress on the carve out for the tapping electronic surveillance statute in the state that would allow us to have a one-party consent for housing testing, which would be very helpful. So having said that, again, I'd like to thank everybody for taking your time to be with us. Anybody who's viewing this, thank you for attending. And I would like to say that we are adjourned.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye. Have a good evening.